Everyone, Simon from Higher Playing Games, and welcome to round 2 of my F123 My Team No Upgrade Championship. We're here at Saudi, generally a track that I struggle with, but I managed to get a setup online that just worked perfectly for me, so I feel really in control of the car here compared to maybe not doing so well in Bahrain. However, it was Verstappen who took pole ahead of Leclerc, and Perez and Sainz, their number 2s, in theory, running alongside, or behind, sorry. Then the 2 Mercedes, the 2 McLarens, Alonso, and then the 2 Alpines. It's very 2x2. The 2 Alphas, who have had a mini upgrade between rounds 1 and 2. They're kind of the team that have taken a noticeable step forward. Tsunoda, Albon, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Magnussen, myself, doing far better than I expected that I would, De Vries, Sargent and Hauger. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this race. Hopefully this video will actually bloody well render. Again, I'm having to do the commentary at like 10 to 4 this morning. Jesus Christ. So be kind. This is what I have to do in order to get these videos out. So without further ado, let's have the Saudi GP. So, all the lights nearly are on, and now they're off and away. Verstappen gets away well, as does Leclerc. Everyone else beaming away behind. Perez, though, has got round the outside of Leclerc. Has he straight into second? No, Leclerc manages to pull itself through. Everyone safely through. That's 3 wide further back with Tsunoda, Zhou and Russell really having a terrible start and has dropped back to 13th. Off the line. I'm not quite sure what's happened there as he tries to get himself back past Tsunoda again, and then it looks like everyone's just about got through as Smith's looking a bit wayward, but ahead of Magnussen, who's had a poor start. It is Verstappen though that leads the way from Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Piastri, Alonso, Ocon, Gasly and Bottas in 11. Russell on medium tyres, and you can see there's a real kind of split going on there. Is that Sargent and Hauger going side by side out of the hairpin? At the back, again, soft versus medium tyres, but it looks like everyone has found their way through, and it's Verstappen leading the way on soft tyres ahead of the fellow soft shod Leclerc through turn 22, and it's looking speedy. Is everyone going to be okay through it? We'll soon find out. De Vries there looking very slow on the soft tyres, but down at the end of turn 1 there's a breakaway up front, and it's the 2 soft-tyred Verstappen and Leclerc. Perez in third then on the mediums. Real different strategies taking place as they come beaming down the front straight into turn 1. What's Hamilton on mediums? Then it's mediums for both McLarens. Alonso's on softs though. So the Aston Martin really hoping for a big pick-me-up. That looked like we was having a pass further back. Indeed we are. That is Magnussen getting round De Vries for 19th position. That back quartet have already kind of lost the back of the field, bizarrely. As up front, Leclerc shadows Verstappen, and they're already pulling away. You can see the real difference between tyre strategies going on here as different teams wander their way through. Bottas punching above his weight. George Russell looks like he's got an awful lot to do, dropping down to 12th after that poor start. He's immediately looking out for everyone else. Ooh, that's Hauger going around the outside of Sargent to hold the position for now, but that looked a bit crazy. Up front though, it's looking just as crazy, if not crazier, as Charles Leclerc looks to go one way, then the other around Max Verstappen. We're not even at DRS yet, and they're going to go side by side. Same with their teammates behind. Perez versus Sainz. Both Ferraris are not able to get round neither of the Red Bulls, but Leclerc's immediately on the attack going down the home straight into turn 1. It looks like it's 3 wide further back. Is Sainz going to go around the outside to become the inside for turn 2? Side by side go the duo. Verstappen lives to fight another day. Perez into third. Stays third, sorry. Hamilton up into fourth. They're getting round Sainz in the background ahead of Norris, Piastri, Alonso, Ocon, Gasly, Bottas. Russell still down in 12th, not doing well for him. Tsunoda, Zhou, Hulkenberg, Stroll and is behind Albon. That's Smith, Magnussen, De Vries, Sargent and Hauger at the back as the teams work their way down to the back end of the circuit around this banked hairpin. To be so careful to run out all the way to the top to get the maximum acceleration, but then make sure that you don't kind of get caught out by just scraping the barrier one way or another. All of the drivers making their way through quite nicely by the looks of it. Magnussen's got past Smith, or has he? Yes, he has. As the field make their way through, and that looks like George Russell with DRS managing to get round Bottas into turn 22. Ooh, cleverly done. Let's see what DRS is doing up front. It's Leclerc taking the lead from Verstappen. It's Perez holding off Sainz, who's going around the outside of Hamilton for 4th and 5th, meaning that Perez gets to live to fight another day. And the more that Leclerc and Verstappen start to struggle and beat each other up, the less they're pulling away from the medium shod tired runners behind. Let's look at Sainz going for it on Perez. This is, well, I was going to say potentially battle of the number twos, but they're not necessarily the number twos at the minute. Hamilton there, Norris has managed to hold on behind. That's Alonso's got round Piastri for a crucial 7th position. Since he is on these soft tyres, he desperately needs to make hay whilst he's got the tyre grip. As the teams make their way down the back straight into the hairpin once more. Lap 4 of 50, nearly up on the 10% mark already. Guan Yu Zhou's got round Yuki Tsunoda. They are both on soft shod tyres. There is Hulkenberg and Albon and Stroll running behind. Then it's Kevin Magnussen, Simon Smith, and then a big gap back to what is now Hauger ahead of De Vries and Sargent. So the battle at the very back of the field. There's several seconds between them, or off the back of the pace, but they're having a good old squabble for 20th position. Here comes Verstappen, no. DRS round the outside. That looks like a brave move for the lead. Leclerc holds him off. Is Sainz going to be able to do the same? No, he's not. Take 2 down the home straight again. I think this is going to be an absolute DRS fest as Verstappen takes the lead back from Leclerc before they get to the baking zone. Sainz and Hamilton get round Perez. Perez loses 2 for the price of 1 basically down the straight, and that's Alonso versus Piastri. This is not what Fernando needs, soft versus medium tired runners. But he's able to keep ahead, and because they're all squabbling with the 2 Alpines there as well, Russell's not able to do much about it. Bottas has been caught by teammate Zhou's, Tsunoda, Albon, Hulkenberg and Stroll are there. Magnussen and Smith are in a little battle, and then that looked like Logan Sargent has got round Nick de Vries in the battle for wooden spoon honours. Wow, let's get on board with Charles Leclerc. Watching them threading the eye of the needle. Oh, have we got a problem there with Hulkenberg? He was running, dropped a couple of positions there, but he's got back ahead of Stroll, or has he? Oh, that looked a bit dodgy to me. A puff of smoke as well from one of the tyres. But he's been able to keep himself ahead of Lance for the time being. Lance fancies a go back again. Yet again, another poor run there for Stroll versus everyone else. Never mind that, back up front, that's Verstappen holding off Charles Leclerc, but Sainz is also holding off Hamilton and Perez and Norris as they come steaming down the straight once more. Here comes Leclerc doing the old DRS do-si-do with Verstappen, sticks his oar in, and Verstappen holds on just about round the outside. Hamilton trying to do the inside with Sainz, but again Sainz holds off there. Norris keeps a watching brief. Alonso is holding up Piastri, Ocon. Russell has got round Pierre Gasly though at the back of that little gaggle. Then we've got Bottas, Zhou, Tsunoda, Albon and so on. And that looks like Hauger versus Sargent in the battle for 20th. Hauger keeps the position just for the time being, although that looks like Sargent's going to try and have a go down into turn 3, and indeed gets the place done there. Unconventional, but it worked, and that looked like a change of position. It was Ocon versus Russell. George Russell going around the outside of that second Alpine, recovers into 9th position, and he might get DRS to be able to escape away and start to attack Oscar Piastri in the second of the McLarens. Let's dive up front. What's going on between these lead duos? They are pulling away slightly more now from the medium shod runners of Sainz, Hamilton, Perez and Norris. But here comes Charlie round the outside once again. This hasn't worked before and it's not going to work again. Max Verstappen pushes him out wide into the edge of the track, making sure that he keeps a position. That means that Charles needs to take a second dose of DRS, pull out from the slipstream and then take the lead. Odysee. Verstappen does a late braking again. So Leclerc is going to give him enough room, but Hamilton was able to make it stick, and he moves his Mercedes up into 3rd position. Sainz to 4, Perez now down to 5, Norris is 6th. All kinds of problems further back down the field as everyone's in a big long line. That looks like Lance Stroll has now got himself ahead of Hülkenberg. As Verstappen leads the way, still just about. What is Hamilton able to do? This is the first time he's at the head of this field of the medium shod gaggle. Right up to the barriers there, as that looked like a change potentially of position. Yeah, it is. It's Alonso's lost out a couple of slots there. He was ahead obviously, and now he's behind Ocon. Is he in trouble? Is that a front wing problem? Because now suddenly that's 3 positions lost all at once, so potentially problems there for Alonso. Verstappen didn't even need to defend this time around. Sainz has got round Hamilton before they even get to the braking zone. Hamilton absolutely mugged there, and I don't think Charles Leclerc is going to be close enough to have a go at Verstappen down into the braking zone. No, he's not. Sainz, Hamilton, Perez, Norris, then it's Piastri. George Russell has cruised up onto the back. Alonso stopped the rot, but he's dropped from 7th to 10th, and that's a surprise there. Sonoda having a go at... is that Guan Yu Zhou? Yes, it is, because Bottas is ahead. Albon keeping a watching brief behind. Ooh, I thought he was going to have a little stab around the outside there, but did not do it. Hülkenberg's now ahead of Stroll. What is going on with that second Aston Martin there? He's well off the back of Alonso. In the same way how De Vries seems to be going quite slowly this race too. He's dropped off the back of everyone. And that looks quite good for Sainz. He's got a fair... I don't think that's a 1 second gap to Lewis Hamilton, but we'll see as they thread their way through the lights of Jeddah. Through the harem scarum of turn 22, which does need a name, I feel. Look at the lights. That's a beautiful look at the circuit from the helicopter. This is looking relatively stable for the first time ever. Norris just clinging onto the back. That looks like George Russell is getting past Piastri. Yes, it is, for 7th and 8th. Shows back ahead of Sonoda, and that looks like Hamilton and Sainz side by side. Once again, the pair give each other room. Perez and Norris keep a watching brief behind. They've got to be careful. Stroll back ahead of Hülkenberg. Not for long though, as Zhou and Sonoda are also battling away quite happily as well in the lower half of the field. On board with Lewis Hamilton though, keeping a watching brief on Carlos Sainz as the pair run right the way out to the wall. Albon looks like he's getting around Tsunoda as well. Let's dive up front. Looks like Max Verstappen has got just enough of a head over Leclerc. You can see visually he seems to be taking more of the curb in turn 22. But Charles Leclerc has DRS. He's got several DRSs. He's going to be going for the lead and has it before they even get to the hairpin. Same as Perez has got round signs for 4th and 5th. Just at the back of our screens there. That's a nice little dainty move by the Mexican driver in the Red Bull. Up into 4th position. Remember, he's our championship leader. Now sitting in 4th. Sainz there a little bit clunky into that corner, defending from Norris. That didn't quite work so well. Russell's pulled away from Piastri though. Seems to be pulling away from Ocon. And then we've got Alonso and Gasly battling away behind. So definitely starting to string out in the lower ends of the top 10. Bottas seems to be on his own. Albon has got back ahead of Zhou and Tsunoda. Stroll clinging onto the back of that, and Hulkenberg too is just about there. Then we've got Kevin Magnussen on his own. Simon Smith seems to be on his own. Then we've got Sargent and Hauger battling away for 20th and 21st. And Nick de Vries just doesn't seem to have any speed in that AlphaTauri at all. I'm not sure if he's got some kind of problem, but he's dropped well off the back of the rest of the field already. And he's kind of plodding around all on his own. Hello. Charles Leclerc is in the lead. Where did that happen? Take a look at the rest of the field. These two swap positions. For how long is it going to go on for though? Because that is Verstappen diving back through into the lead. That looks like Perez trying to go around the outside. We've seen that move not work many times before, and it did not work there. Even Norris is having a look at Carlos Sainz. Look at Verstappen trying to put Leclerc up against the pit wall momentarily. Leclerc takes a diving through. Is he going to get the room? Is he going to get the position? Oh, side by side, it does look like Leclerc's got it. Verstappen's going to try and hang it on around the outside into turn 3. Last of the late breakers onto the curbs, and he just about holds it on. That was a bit desperate, Dan, but it worked out for him in the end. Leclerc cedes the position and drops back into 2nd place. Perez has got ahead of Hamilton, Sainz then Norris. Russell trying to join in the party, but he seems to be on his own in 7th after that poor start. And everyone else diving through in the background. Guan Yu Zhou's lost out a couple of positions, down to 16th. Not sure what's happened there. Oh, hello. That was someone running wide. That was Smith off onto the curbs. Ooh, bit skiddy everywhere there, unfortunately. Getting towards the end of a stint of tyres, that might be why. So we'll see how this goes as lap 11 continues to rumble on. And here comes Charles Leclerc once again on Max Verstappen. Into the lead he goes. Looking quite nice. Down into the home straights to complete yet another lap. Let's see what's happening. As they cross the line, it's all going on behind. It's Perez versus Hamilton. Who's going to get that? Oh, again, it looks close. I'm not sure who's giving who the room, but Perez seems to have got a better traction out of that corner and won through the position. Hamilton, Sainz, Norris, Russell, Piastri, and that looks like Gasly's got round Alonso down into turn 1. That Aston Martin has faded over the course of this run. Remember, he was up in 7th after the first few laps. Now he's down in 11th. And indeed, this does seem to be where the medium shod runners are starting to really come to the fore. Because look, Tsunoda's dropped down to 15th, Zhou's down to 16. And is that Sargent battling with Hauger? And you wouldn't necessarily expect those two to be nose to tail going on. And now that Perez has kind of got up ahead, is he closing down on these leading duo? Not entirely sure. Yeah, look, they're very clearly still within the same frame, so perhaps this is where the soft tyres are starting to fall off slightly as Verstappen tries to go around the outside. Leclerc will try and hang him out dry, just like what he did to him several laps ago. Well, several laps this race, to be fair. Take two again. Look at how powerful that DRS is. Leclerc's going to try and keep it in. We've seen this happen many a time already. Is Leclerc going to hold on around the outside? Yes, he does, and that was quite convincing, actually. Verstappen being a bit twitchy. Perez and Hamilton are in there as well. As there's changes of position, that's Alonso trying desperately to get back past Gasly. Did not work. And is that Stroll? Yeah, Lance Stroll is our first person into the pits. He's going to rejoin right at the very back behind Dennis Hauger, because that is Logan Sargent into the pits, taking his first stop as well for Williams. I feel like this is a good place to pause. Okay, that is Sargent, then in and out again, as is Stroll. So the first couple are in. There's Nick de Vries in as well from what was very plainly last in the AlphaTauri, not having good fun. Up front though, it is all kicking off, and now that we know that pit stops are starting to take place for the soft-tyred runners, this is going to be really close there as Verstappen nearly loses it. You could see the car twitching as he desperately tries to get back ahead of Leclerc. Is this so that he can then get into the pit lane first, I wonder? Well, are they crossing the line? Who's going to come in? Who's not? Neither. And I don't think Leclerc is close enough after being gazumped there to be able to do anything back, as Perez has to try and defend from Hamilton. Are they doing anything about it? It's close, but look at how visually closer they are to Leclerc and Verstappen. This has not let the medium-tired runners have been able to recapture the soft people again. The soft drivers, you know what I mean. And actually, is that Piastri on hard tyres rather than medium? So that is quirky there from Piastri. The only driver on hard tyres. What can he do with it, I wonder? So you can see Smith was quite far ahead of Hauger. Not anymore. And Stroll and Sargent and de Vries running behind. So clearly, tyres really starting to become an issue for those that chew through them, of which I'm definitely one of them. Always a fat finger on the controller trying to make sure that I can still steer properly. But I'm not last. I'm not last for once. Okay, back to professionalism. Just. Lap 14 of 50 coming to a close. Oh, hello. That's Perez and Hamilton and Sainz squabbling away, and that is Max Verstappen into the pits. Here comes the Red Bull driver. Now, what tyres are he going to go on for? Oh, let's have a look first at what is Perez and Hamilton up to. There's something about trying to not battle as much as possible as Perez keeps ahead. Ocon, there's Alonso versus Gasly. I'd say Alonso's probably going to get ahead. No, Gasly does. There's Bottas through, and oh, here's carnage. Oh. Now, Yuki Tsunoda is not going to want to hold up his Red Bull counterpart, is he? He tried, but Max Verstappen goes, thank you very much. And he's back out on another set of soft tyres, so that leaves him open potentially to a 3-stop or a 2-stop potentially. We're not sure, but look at how quickly he's able to therefore bounce ahead of Tsunoda, Albon, Zhou and Hulkenberg, who are behind. Oh, hello. There's Lance Stroll's parked up. He's out of the race on lap 14 of the Grand Prix. That's no good. Yellow flags flying. No safety car though. So Lance Stroll is our first retirement of the race. He'd had a terrible time pretty much anyway. And there is Hamilton getting back past Perez for second position. And now look, they're within DRS range of Charles Leclerc, who is not pitting. He continues on. This is starting to make me think that people that have pitted already are on a 2-stopper, potentially, maybe even a 3. And is Leclerc going to try and squeeze it to a 2 or maybe a 1? There's all different options that are available here, but he is clearly being caught by the 4 medium shod tired drivers behind. There's Verstappen going around the outside of Valtteri Bottas, as Gasly holds off Alonso for the time being. Let's get back up front again, because I think Leclerc, well, he better get the bath drawn to pop his floating ducks in, because he's a sitting one, about to be quackered, I think. As that looks like, yeah, I was going to say Hauger's got past Smith in the background, only just. The 2 of them squabbling away the backmarker brigade drivers for 18th and 19th at the moment. But Leclerc, well, now it just looks like a 5-car train, although Norris has slightly dropped off the back of this now that the heat has really picked up. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, stalking the back of that rear wing. Didn't want to pull out and go for it. Thought that he would just rather stay behind and maybe use DRS a second time. Is Leclerc popping into the pits? No, he's not. So here comes Lewis Hamilton, or on board with Lewis Hamilton, sorry, as he tries to get the DRS. He's not making as much progress as I thought he was going to, and he just stays behind the Ferrari. That surprises me. Perez, Sainz, Norris behind. Here's Piastri, who's now been caught by George Russell. Remember, Russell's on the mediums, Piastri's on the hards. That's why Piastri's going slower. Is that Verstappen having a go at Gasly already? He's caught up him very quickly, as I think that's Alonso then into the pits, as Nico Hülkenberg gets round the outside of Guan Yu Zhou. So there's Alonso into the pits. Alexander Albon's into the pits as well. And there is Alonso rejoining back in 16th place. That's not gone well for the Aston Martin team at all. There you go, Hauger and Smith. There's Albon out of the pits. Sargent and co keep going, as Charles Leclerc back into battle stations, as look at the train of cars that are just following him around. It's so close. Here we are on board with Lewis Hamilton. He runs out of speed, and look at Perez. What a time to go on board. Perez just cruises past Lewis Hamilton, tries to have Leclerc as well, but he'll get DRS and have a go again. Let's stay on board with Hamilton, because I think he's going to get an absolutely beautiful view of Sergio Perez taking the lead. But look, he stalls out on the DRS. It's not until the very last part of the the straight, that he must floor a little bit of the ERS to try and get back into the lead. But Sergio Perez pops into first position for the first time this race. It's not Leclerc or Verstappen. Max Verstappen has just got round Pierre Gasly by the looks of it, as that is Ocon into the pits, the lead Alpine. But yeah, Verstappen now in some clear air before he gets up to the Piastri and Russell battle, as here is Charles Leclerc now about to be absolutely rampantly taken over. Look at him feathering on the throttle. He had to, because otherwise he was going to run out wide and then spank into Lewis Hamilton, and that would have been a calamitous crash. However, this is now starting to look very much like Charles Leclerc is running out of tyres and running out of time, as now teammate Carlos Sainz is having a look. Lando Norris, who is looking tentative at the back of this, now is looking very much at play in the middle of it. Now, Does that look to me? Yes, no. Lewis Hamilton does have DRS. I was going to say that would have been crucial if Perez had pulled out the second, but he hasn't quite done it. As... wow! Leclerc keeps going on the soft tyres. His teammate Sainz and Lando Norris are in on the mediums on lap 19. That's crucial. Both are in. Who's going to win out of the pits? Good stop by Norris. Is it good enough? Yes, it is. Norris beats out Sainz. Oh dear. Ferrari won't be happy. As through goes Gasly. That's Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo that they're going to come out just behind. That won't work very well. So Carlos Sainz has got it all to do. Who else is in the pits there? That looked like Russell. But it's Alonso and Ocon squabbling away, and George Russell's going to come out right in the middle of it all. Hoo-hoo! That was perfectly timed there for George as he manages to get out just ahead of Alonso, who's on medium tyres. But struggling away there. There's Albon. Hulkenberg rejoins just ahead of teammate Magnussen. Then it's Sargent. That's Dennis Hauger into the pits. Are you going to pull out just ahead of Smith or behind Smith? I'm not entirely sure. Here comes the battle of the backmarker brigades. This to me looks like Dennis Hauger is going to get out ahead. Indeed he does. Up front, Sergio Perez is coming round to lap Nick de Vries in the AlphaTauri. Of course, de Vries has been into the pits. Perez, Hamilton and Leclerc have not, but Leclerc is in. Ooh, that looked very slow and painful there for Perez and Hamilton as they came through. Here comes Charles Leclerc in. And as he rejoins there, you can see the difference. Max Verstappen takes the lead. Remember, these two were battling side by side before Max Verstappen came into the pits. Now there's a huge gap between them, and there's an Alpine in the way. And is that Norris getting through? Yes, it is. And Sainz and Bottas. Well, Bottas got mugged by both Sainz and Norris round that opening lap. We didn't see it. But Bottas now in 7th place. There is Leclerc, Tsunoda and Zhou yet to pit, but they've been on soft tyres and have basically, I think, left it a bit too long for my liking. Alonso, Russell and Ocon running behind. Piastri's come off the hard tyres onto the mediums. That surprises me. I'd have thought Oscar would have tried to have gone further with those tyres because he had the wear rate for it, unless they were just deemed a bit too slow. But wow, crazy stuff there. Is Perez being stalked by Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton now looking to try and go around the outside. Both on medium tyres again. So both will still need to pit again for softs. Verstappen going the other way around. In fact, Perez and Hamilton obviously haven't pitted yet, but Verstappen has nearly caught them back up again. Such is the speed of the Dutchman. As there is Norris, Gasly about to be done by Carlos Sainz, who moves up into 5th position. But look, Gasly using the slipstream and some errs to try and hold on for a bit longer. Didn't really work. Bottas there through, and that looks like Guan Yu Zhou being taken not just by Alonso but by Russell as well. And is that Piastri versus Ocon? It is, and that's for position. The McLaren driver now up into 13th, ahead of the Alpine. Two backmarker brigades still quite close together. Not nearly as close as this though. Hamilton versus Perez, and Verstappen is closing them down. You can't quite see him yet. Let's get on board with Lewis. It looks like he's going to try and go the long way around the outside, but he will have the move potentially done. Or will he? No, he won't. Look, he's had to give room for Perez. always better taking that inside line. You're able to get much better traction and get out of the corner back in the lead. And then Lewis just says, that's alright, I'll take the second bite of the cherry. Dives down the outside into turn one. Is Perez going to try and stick it in here as well? Yes, he is. Of course, all this does is slow both of them down, and then Perez keeps the lead in all of that. And Verstappen just goes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll have more of that, please. As Sainz has got ahead of Norris in all of that, somewhere along the line. Imagine that would be down towards that final corner. Leclerc then up to 6th, then it's Gasly, Bottas in 8. Here's George Russell about to go around the outside of Fernando Alonso in the battle for 9th and 10th. Alonso says, I don't think you'll be taking me that easily, thank you, mate. And retakes the position. Tsunoda still yet to stop. Piastri, Ocon, Zhou yet to stop too. It looks like we've dropped both Hasses, and oh, hello. Here's an interesting squabble at the right at the back of the field there. Smith versus Hauger. Is there going to be any kind of resolution here down into turn one? It looks like Smith's got the speed. No, doesn't necessarily want to take the dive bomb approach, which is what Perez is having to do to keep Hamilton at bay. Same old move down at turn one. Is Hamilton any closer this time by? On board with Perez. Let's look at Hamilton taking a run round the outside. Perez just coasts it in slightly. Gives him just enough room, but then you have better traction on the outside of that corner to get the grip down. Take position one back for Sergio. Verstappen still closing in. Oh, here's a squabble. Sainz versus Norris. The bromance might be off the track, but on the track they're knocking 10 barrels of plop out of each other as they bounce around in 4th and 5th positions. Ahead of Leclerc though still. As there is Valtteri Bottas now being caught and absolutely mugged by George Russell there. Alonso, I'm sure, will be through very soon as well. Teammate Zhou's dropping back down the field. Is that him in the pits? Yes, it is. He's going to rejoin in 17th place, if not 18th, as Logan Sargent looks like he might try and pounce and get ahead. Going to be close. But Zhou makes it out ahead for the time being, as the two backmarker brigades continue their squabble over what is now 19th place. Now this is different. Hamilton's got the inside this time round. Is he going to force Perez wide? Yes, he is. Side by side down the straight. Who's going to be getting it this time around? Perez? Wow. I didn't expect that. Perez able to hold the line. Verstappen, look at how close he's getting back into the contention of this. He can now see both of them up in the distance. They're faint little dots, but they're definitely in his view, and they weren't a little while ago. Sainz and Norris still squabbling away. They've just popped a lap on Nick de Vries, so that might have stopped them for a wee while. That looks like Bottas is into the pits from, well, he was running in the points, but it was falsely, really. That lets Alexander Albon up into 13th position for the time being. I think Bottas is going to rejoin in 16th. Indeed he does. But that very long stint on soft tyres has not worked for the Alfa Romeos at all, and they've gone from knocking on the fringes of the top 10 to being well out, as that is Simon Smith using the DRS and a little bit of ERS, no doubt, to get himself ahead of teammate Hauger and up into 19th. These two evenly matched round this circuit as Perez and Hamilton continue their squabble quite happily by the looks of it. Still yet to pit, but now look, Max Verstappen closing them down quite happily. At the half distance, let's dive on board with the Dutchman, the current reigning world champion. But his teammate is up ahead as Sainz and Norris go toe to toe behind. I think Sainz is going to hold on to that position. Indeed he does. You can see Perez and Hamilton, they're not just faint dots anymore, at times they're a little bit more chonkier. Something's gone on there. Oh, it's Tsunoda into the pits, that's why. So Tsunoda is the last person to make a stop from the soft-tired compound. And look, that's how much he was losing. Bottas and Zhou have all kind of gone nuts there, as that is Hauger getting back past Smith. Is that Smith trying to get round the outside? Tricky stuff, as that Sargent in for a second stop on lap 25. That's very early, so Logan Sargent 3 stopping, I'd imagine, because he's come back out on soft tyres again, so he's going to have to do another stop because he's only ran soft tyres. That feels like a weird thing to do, as Sergio Perez is in for his stop and he's going on to the soft tyres. Interesting. Through goes Charles Leclerc. Sainz and Norris battling away. Norris now up into the podium positions in that McLaren, 3rd place for the time being, ahead of Sainz. Is Perez going to get out just ahead of Russell and Gasly? The answer is yes, and there's a Nick de Vries in between as well, so that has worked out quite nicely. Nick de Vries getting nicely out of the way for Gasly and Russell. Can't quite get out of the way nicely here for Piastri, who's getting held up slightly because it's one car, one line through this part of the circuit. Now, quite happily, he gets through, but that's really lost Piastri and Alonso a lot of time there. Helped out Ocon slightly. But now, lap 26, is this going to be Lewis Hamilton in? And is Perez doing the undercut? Yes, that looks like a pull into the pits for Hamilton. Verstappen then retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. Sainz and Norris are hardly loads of distance behind though, despite everything. And again, they're medium shod. Leclerc also. And there comes Perez through, looking well clear of Hamilton, and it looks like George Russell might even get through on him as well. Hamilton out on soft tyres, so that's going to be a long way to make them last. We saw the Alphas nearly do it, but they were very, very slow at the end, and it's basically wrong-footed them against the Haas's, so interesting. We'll see how this all plays out over time. Piastri now back up into the points. And Smith diving back past Hauger again. Those two have been swapping positions like nobody's business. Ooh, that looked a bit naughty there from Smith. But holding off for now. Logan Sargent closing them in, no doubt, with fresh soft tyres on. And Nick de Vries is just really struggling because he's not able to do much when you've only got to let everyone by very, very simply and quickly and easily, as there is Hamilton and Russell going toe to toe in the teammate sister Mercedes. Hamilton on the fresher rubber and on the faster compound, so you'd imagine Lewis will be able to get ahead, and indeed he does. Moves up into 6th place. Maybe he can drag teammate Russell alongside him, or behind him, sorry, so that he can then rejoin back into the battle after his poor start. Further back we've got Bottas versus Magnussen, and that is the Alfa Romeo retaking the Haas. In terms of car performance, Alfa Romeo is slightly better than the Haas, but the Haas strategy has been better, so all kinds of stuff going on there. And oh, that looks problematic. As Hauger gets back past Smith, Smith looks like he was about to be in the barriers. But these two having good fun down in 18th and 19th, it must be said. Sargent is closing them down though. Verstappen is closing a lot of them down. Quite fancy starting to lap people soon, potentially on lap 28. Or maybe not, because that's him into the pits, and that's again early. What tyres are is Max Verstappen going to put on? It's a set of mediums. Yes, medium tyres. Through goes Perez, through goes Hamilton, through goes George Russell. So, Verstappen can go to the end on this. His tyres will be a bit knackered. But he could do it. He could do it. So, welcome to the lead of the race then, Lando Norris in the McLaren. Who would have thought we'd have seen McLaren leading races? If you'd have seen them in the pre-season test. It's worked out nicely for him. Carlos Sainz is fancying rewriting the story though before Norris is able to notch that lap in his belt. Remember, he's got to have it when he crosses the line. Ooh, did Sainz scrape the wall there? I'm not sure, but Sainz does eke himself ahead. Norris keeps the inside line. I think he'll try and hang the Ferrari out to dry, and indeed he does. And so Norris does get his lap on lap 30 before I think Carlos Sainz is going to try and get the lead back. I'm not sure he's going to keep it because Lando Norris holds on to the lead in that McLaren. Beautifully done. It looked like he was clinging onto the back for dear life earlier on in the race, but this has worked out really nicely for him as the McLaren leads the way. Leclerc keeping a watching brief in third. Perez now up to fourth on the soft tyres, followed by Hamilton. Then it's Russell who's got Verstappen for company. That'll be the next squabble, I think, that we might be needing. Oh, hello! We've got a problem here. Let's take a quick reversey. What happened to Alexander Albon? That's the first car we've seen facing the wrong way. Oh, look! A little tank slapper in the exit of one. So I'm facing the wrong way in two. Is he able to get going again? Because through goes Bottas. Yeah, look, he's reversing round. Through goes Magnussen. There's gone Zhou. There is Tsunoda. And I think there'll be enough of a gap here to try and get himself spun around and sorted. After I didn't realise that was Nick de Vries there. He's been lapped by everyone up to Tsunoda, bizarrely. So he's lapped behind his teammate. There is Albon now back going again, and he's there ahead of Hauger and Smith and Sargent. So useful to know. Here comes Norris and Sainz though down the home straight. I would say Carlos quite fancies the lead. Norris tries to stick his nose in. We've seen this move 100 times in this race already, and Lando's able to hold it off for now. This looks more decisive though. That's Max Verstappen taking 6th place away from George Russell before they get to the breaking point of turn 1. Through goes the Dutch driver. In the Austrian team. Then with Norris on his nose cam. Are we going to see a Carlos Sainz pop out from the side, into the right hand side, after they've gone through the perilous turn 22? Not seen anyone bin it there yet. Famous last words. Are we going to see? Oh no, Carlos Sainz says no, I'll have it down the inside. Well done there to the Ferrari driver. Had it done before they even got to the final corner. And then is Norris going to try and do any kind of DRS/slipstream to bounce back through? Yes, he is. But Carlos looks like he has got it. Hangs on around the outside, retakes the position. Leclerc is closing the pair of them down though. Got to be really careful because Charles could be very dangerous to this duo if they continue battling away, Sainz and Norris. Perez not too far behind on the soft tyres, followed by Hamilton, then it's Verstappen, Russell, Piastri and co. And here's a good squabble. It's the Hasses of Kevin Magnussen, Yuki Tsunoda and the AlphaTauri getting through. Zhou Guanyu just behind. Magnussen there out of good strategy. Tsunoda and Zhou out there out of bad strategy, to be quite honest. And there's the recovered Albon, but Albon seems to actually be struggling somewhat with his tyres because Hauger and Smith, whether it's just because they're slipstreaming each other and DRSing themselves, they seem to be quite close to Alexander Albon, to be fair. And with Logan Sargent closing the lot of them down with younger soft tyres, that could be a nice little scrap at the end of the race potentially to see how that transpires. Ooh, I thought we was going to see Norris in the wall there. It didn't happen. He jinked one way then the other. Bombastic driving by Norris and a bombastic take back of the lead for the McLaren driver. Beautifully done. Up into first, and now you can see 1, 2, 3 and 4 all in the same shot. That looked like an Alpine switcheroo in the battle for the final points paying position. Indeed it is, because that is Pierre Gasly into the pit lane. So that's Gasly in for the second stop. Well, at least he's got further than his disqualification that he had very early on in the Bahrain Grand Prix. So here goes Bottas and Hulkenberg. Tsunoda, Zhou and Magnussen. The Alpine driver rejoins in 16th place, but is that hard tyres? It is, with 17 laps to go, so that's a bit of a faux pas. Into the pits comes Albon. He'll rejoin in 20th position. And here comes our lead quartet. Let's get on board with Charles Leclerc, watching ahead for Norris versus Sainz. Sainz is back ahead of Norris. For how much longer we'll soon find out. It doesn't look like Perez has got the go on Leclerc. He stays behind. But look, Carlos Sainz keeps the lead. Interesting, okay. So thread their way through the high-speed snake and roller coastering turns of the Jeddah Corniche circuit, looking resplendent in the darkness and the flood lighting. Albon has rejoined right behind this lot and actually is looking potentially just as fast as the lead quartet snake their way through. Verstappen has got past Hamilton in all of this and is up into 5th position. I didn't realise it, my apologies. But Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Perez, who is going to win out on this lot? Perez taking a dive bomb down the outside. I think he's going to get shuffled wide by Norris. Indeed he is. Anyone pitting? Is that Norris pitting? No, it's not. Perez takes 2nd position though. That is by seeing just how beautiful the DRS is. But Norris is going to be last of the late breakers, trying to keep his nose in. Perez says no, I don't think so very much. Norris is going to hang on around the outside, get back that 2nd place as we've seen so many times. And this is allowing Carlos Sainz to have a little bit of a breather whilst this lot all scrapperoo behind. Leclerc has got Albon all over the back of him, and look at how quickly Max Verstappen has closed onto the back of all of this lot. He's there. Hamilton's not tons of distance behind. Russell and Piastri have kind of dropped off the back, so to speak. Smith now is ahead of Hauger, and that is Gasly getting past Kevin Magnussen because Kevin Magnussen's in the pits. And Tsunoda and Hulkenberg squabble away over 12th and 13th positions at the moment. I think Yuki's going to get that one. Indeed he does. Up front, Carlos Sainz leads the way. Norris getting the DRS, and I think will be delighted to have had it because he was under attack from Perez, Leclerc, and now we've got a Max Verstappen onto the back of this as well. Let's take a look. What's the Dutch driver doing? With the freshest tyres of the bunch. You kind of have to think this is an inevitability as Perez looked like he was about to clobber into the side of Norris. But Perez is going to get 2nd. Going around the outside of turn 2 really has become the preferred line when you're trying to do an overtake in that corner. And if you can set it up right, you can sneak your way through, and that's exactly what Sergio Perez has done. Up into 2nd, Norris now 3rd, Leclerc and Verstappen battling over 3rd, 4th and 5th. And this is what's going to be crucial here is Verstappen. Is he going to be able to get around the outside of Leclerc straight away? On the hugely banked circuit, is he going to use Norris's inability to get out? Yes, he is. Look, beautifully done. He used Norris being a little bit slower and hesitant to box Leclerc in. Verstappen moves up into 4th position. Beautifully, beautifully done. Next up for him is Lando Norris. But let's take a look at Sergio Perez, championship leader after round 1, looking like he wants to go 2 for 2. But Sainz desperately wants to forbid him from doing any of that whatsoever. Around the outside. Okay. Verstappen trying the same thing on Norris. Side by side though. Perez versus Sainz. And is that because Sainz is pitting? Yes it is. Carlos Sainz pops into the pits with 14 laps to go. That's put him looking like he wants to do an undercut. So as the drivers all make their way down, hard tyres with 14 laps to go. They look like Hauger coming into the pits at the same time, or out of the pits at the same time. Well, Sainz rejoins behind Russell out there on mediums, that's fine. Sainz is going to rejoin just ahead of Piastri. That's crucial to make sure that Sainz has any kind of hope of doing anything with the hard tyre. That's really shocked me that he's come out on the hard tyre. That feels wrong to me. There we go. Anyway, Perez leading the way. And he's got a tiny little gap here over Norris. Is that a second? I don't think it is. Must be right on the margins. We'll see, we'll see. But Max Verstappen is going immediately aggressive and looks like he wants to go around the outside, and he'll have the position before we get to that final corner. This is crucial now. What's going to happen with the Red Bulls? We had this last time around where Verstappen was closing down Perez but ran out of laps to do anything about it, and Perez was able to hold him off. However, everyone's now in DRS range, so I'm less sure this is going to work out fine for anyone. Where's Norris? Ah, in the pits. He too has come back out on hard tyres. Into the pits is George Russell. Hard tyres again. Clearly, lots of drivers running out of tyres as Piastri moves up into 6th. Oh, when he comes out in between Sainz and Norris, that is not going to please the Englishman at all. If anything, he'll want him out of the way. Ocon in the pits. Again, another one onto the hard tyres. What's that going to do with him? He's going to come out right alongside teammate Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, squabbling away. In fact, Ocon is coming out in the 14th place after a bit of a slow run through. Here's the Haas drivers doing their best backmarker brigade impression. Going side by side, Hülkenberg and Magnussen. They've kind of detached themselves from everyone else and are having their own little squabbly battle, which is lovely to see. But it is for the lower edges of the points. That's Sargent in for his third and final stop. On board then. I don't discount out Lewis Hamilton either. This is all going to be about who can do what with whatever tyres they've got left. The tyre deg is quite high here. And the drop-off of times are quite high too, so... That looks like Charles Leclerc being dropped slightly now by the Red Bulls after all of that. As they up their own pace and look like they're coming into their own. But again, Verstappen has got such younger tyres compared to his teammate. This feels like it could be a... not an if, it's a when, isn't it? But Sergio doesn't want to admit it. And that's helpful. Whoever that was coming into the pits is going to get out of the way and make sure that Perez and Verstappen can continue on their merry way, squabbling away for the lead. Leclerc then into third, Hamilton's fourth. Then it's Sainz, Norris, Piastri, Alonso, Russell, Bottas currently in the top 10. With Gasly, Tsunoda, Zhou, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Albon, Smith and Hauger, Sargent, and it was Nick de Vries who's been lapped by the entire field. Wow. I'm not quite sure. Well, I know some of that was down to the fact that he's been having to move over and let everyone through quite a lot. But that's not a good run from Nick de Vries in the second AlphaTauri when his teammate is busily battling around, desperately trying to get into the points. So, which driver is going to win? You can still see the top three all in the same shot. Perez, Verstappen, Leclerc. Verstappen has the youngest tyres. He's also now got the lead, but has he got the inside line? No, he's not. Perez holds on for the time being. Those soft tyres, though, must be absolutely cream crackered because he's had them on for a very long time. And again, look, Verstappen looking one way and the other, not able to get through. There's Leclerc. Hamilton's got him. Alonso's got himself up into 8th. Russell, with that extra pit stop on hard tyres, now down in 9th. This might show dividends right at the very end for him, but I think Sainz has kind of mucked himself up a little bit now. Bottas, by trying to stay out and one stop it, he's trying to see if he can make it work. There's the two Hasses still squabbling away quite happily over 15th and 16th, Hulkenberg and Magnussen. Let's hope they don't squabble and hit each other. One Haas driver gets round the other quite happily as they swap positions for the umpteenth time. And to be fair, backmarker brigades of Smith and Hauger have kind of stabilised next to each other too, so all kinds of inter-team battles. The best one, though, is the battle for the win. Perez, Verstappen and Leclerc. And Leclerc looked like he dropped off the back. Seems to me that he's rejoined back on again. And I wonder if this is so that it can keep Max occupied as much behind as it is ahead. Particularly with Perez now probably struggling with those soft tyres that have done an awful lot of laps. The snaky speed of this circuit it takes a while to get used to, and certainly from a driver's perspective for me, as I've lost a position to Hauger in 18th and 19th there. As the tyres degrade, I think one of the best things about the F123 game is just the improved way how tyre wear starts to become tyre sliding. And so I was finding is I was faster than I probably should have needed to be when I was at the beginning of a stint, but then my pace would drop away over the course of a stint, so I would struggle a wee bit as Leclerc moves up into 2nd with DRS that Verstappen did not have because he was more than a second away from Perez. And look at them squabbling away. This is working for Sergio. The more Verstappen and Leclerc battle away, they've now fallen more than a second away from Sergio Perez. No more DRS for Max Verstappen. Could this have been the strategic genius of Sergio to now know when to break away, because these two are going to be squabbling away? And look, Charles Leclerc is trying to go all the way around the outside of Max Verstappen, and he's done it. Where's this come from Charles Leclerc, and why is Verstappen now struggling so much? Is there a technical problem? He's just fallen right off the back there. Bizarre. Let's see what Max does. Is he going to hold on, or is he going to cause all kinds of issues for himself? Is he going to drop away? It looks like he's clinging on for the time being, but Well, he's gone from, oh my god, it looks like he's stalking Perez for the win, to now he's got a reclaimed second, and here he goes with the DRS. Goes down the outside, but Leclerc's going to do that same old move that we've seen countless times this race to keep second, and the more this happens, this visually shows just how much time you lose through battling alone. As Leclerc keeps it for the time being. Hamilton's on his own in fourth. Sainz is in fifth and closing down, but I don't know if he's got enough time to do anything. Same for Norris in sixth. Piastri, with a weird strategy of tyres, is in seventh. Russell has got ahead of Alonso. Didn't spot that one, but he's up there now. And Piastri looks very much within his grasp as well. Bottas currently sits in 10th place, but look at how Gasly and potentially Ocon as well is closing him down. So we'll see how the tyres cause not an issue, but a real change of pace and position potentially for that final points paying position between Alpine and Alpha. Tsunoda and Zhou kind of fallen off the back a little bit there as well. Hulkenberg and Magnussen are still battling away. And we've lost Dennis Hauger in all of this. I'm not sure what's happened there with Hauger, but Dennis Hauger has retired. In fact, I can tell you what happened, because he'd just literally overtaken me with DRS and then his engine blew up in my face. Apologies, I didn't realise that we'd missed it. I was too busy watching the lead. But there is Nick de Vries, who will eventually move up into 20th place once he'd got through what he needed to get through. But this is shocking for me. Sergio Perez on what is grossly worn soft tyres should not be able to do what he's doing and hold off Leclerc and Verstappen, both on, I mean, Leclerc is on very used mediums, but they're not going to wear out nearly as fast as the softs, and Verstappen is on much younger hard tyres, so I wonder if there's some kind of technical issue going on with Max, because he's not even harassing Leclerc at the moment. So I wonder if he's just dropping back because of, I don't know, engine issue or a gear shift or something like that. See if we can hear anything. No. Oh well. So there is Norris. He's just popped a lap on Smith. Let's see, Albon ahead, Sargent behind. Sainz isn't too far up the road either, so Sainz and Norris still relatively close together. I think McLaren will be really pleased with this, because this has shown that they do have the potential where it all works to battle away for the coattails of a podium, and he led quite a few laps, Norris. So Piastri, with his unusual starting strategy, I think was kind of counted out slightly too early, but again, the race has kind of come back to him in 7th place. Russell is closing him down quite quickly with 8th. And here is the battle for the final points-paying position. Gasly all over the back of Valtteri Bottas. Don't mind if I do. So we are on board with George Russell. scoops himself right the way up to that McLaren. I don't think he'll be able to get it into turn 22. Wow! That surprises me. George Russell moves up into 7th position, blasts past Piastri there. That was shocking. Is Gasly going to do the same thing? Don't think he is. He's having to lift off the throttle before he gets there. Ocon's not too far behind. Don't make this a Gasly done deal if he's going to get past Bottas, which he does. He does. Nearly squeezed up against the wall there by the Finnish driver, but Gasly, oh no, Bottas tries to have him back again. Gasly gets better acceleration on the newer yet harder tyres. Up into 10th in the points paying position comes Gasly then. Bottas slips down to 11. Ocon's right behind in 12. So again, don't count out either of these. Sonoda's too far back in 13, Zhou 14. The two Hasses squabbling away with Magnussen and Hulkenberg just at each other's throats, really, for the second half of this race. They weren't together at the beginning. Magnussen was slightly behind Hulkenberg, but he's caught the German driver up and past him. Then they can't seem to let each other be alone. There's Alexander Albon. Since that spin, he's not really had the same speed in those medium tyres, so I'm assuming that they're... Mind you, he's pitted, hasn't he? And it's still not kind of worked out, so maybe it's just overheated the car a little bit, because Simon Smith is keeping up and closing him down slightly, but he is dragging Logan Sargent along for the ride with him, who's now on his medium shod run, so... There we go, De Vries 2 laps down. Oh, just accidentally pressed the rewind button. I was about to go, Oh dear, you can tell it's 5 o'clock in the morning, can't you? I need a power nap before work. Okay, Perez leads the way though, and it really has been a strategic tour de force, because now Verstappen has seemingly dropped off the back with whatever problem it is that he's got. Leclerc is not quite able to get back within DRS range of Perez, so it's all worked out nicely for him. Perez just needs to make sure that he doesn't make a mistake and is able to keep those soft tyres within a well-oiled operating window. Ocon has got past Gasly in all of this as well. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Gasly. A couple lap on Nick De Vries. Yeah, Esteban Ocon has got round his teammate, so something went wrong somewhere for Esteban. Sorry, for Pierre, because Ocon is now back in the points. Even though Gasly has been largely the lead Alpine for most of the event so far. Bottas slipped down to 12th, desperately trying to not give it up properly. I don't think that Alfa Romeo, that looks beautiful under the floodlights, it must be said, I don't think the Alfa Romeo is able to do much about it. And you can see a really good demonstration of engines and ERSs not quite being able to stop a DRS pull away. Those two Hasses, they're on to the penultimate lap, the pair of them. God knows who's going to win that position. Albon looks like he's got Smith covered. Sargent's not too far behind. But here comes Sergio Perez onto his last lap. To be fair, Charles Leclerc is keeping him honest, and Verstappen isn't too far back in third. Hamilton, Sainz and Norris all closing everyone back down again. Hamilton looking knackered on the old soft tyres, and Sainz and Norris with fresh hard rubber. They've just run out of laps, haven't they? The right decision was to stay out and make it a one-stopper. And that's what Perez and Leclerc have done. Verstappen two-stopped, as did Sainz and Norris, and to be fair, they've all worked out with worst case scenario, well, not worst case scenarios, but worse positions for it. So as Sergio continues to battle away, Bottas has got round Gasly in that last little squabble. Yes, it is. Gasly keeps ahead though of Bottas. It looks like for the last time of asking, let's see what's going on with the Haas brothers down into turn 1. Hulkenberg versus Magnussen. That looks to me like Hulkenberg's going to get the... yeah, he does. He gets the momentum down. But here comes our winner. Sergio Perez wins the Grand Prix. Well done. That's 2 for 2 at the start of the season. Charles Leclerc gets a well-earned second place. Verstappen third after an ominous final little run there. Hamilton 4. Hang on, Norris got past Sainz for 5 and 6. What happened there? So this came again from nowhere. So I don't know if there was just some people that were struggling and having some mechanical gremlins at the end, because Norris wasn't even close before that final lap, and then suddenly is able to do it, get the DRS and dive up into 5th. Sainz to 6th. Russell's going to get 7th as he pops a lap on Sargent. Then it's Piastri in 8. Alonso will be 9, and Esteban Ocon gets 10 ahead of Gasly, Bottas, Tsunoda, Zhou, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Albon, Smith and Sargent. Those three were very close. Nick de Vries was the final finisher, but lapped by the entire field. Crazy. Our retirements: Dennis Hauger and Lance Stroll. And here's the final positions then. Fastest lap going quite clearly to Max Verstappen, a 1:31.4. Really great racing by him. There you can see the one-stoppers all making it work. Piastri and Alonso doing really well there to do it. Gasly losing out on his point right at the end before he ran into problems. Tsunoda, another good strong drive in the AlphaTauri. Zhou less so, because that one stop didn't really work for them in the Alfa Romeos. Hulkenberg did beat out Magnussen in the end. Then one lap down was Albon, Smith and Sargent. 2 laps down, Nick de Vries. And your retirements were Hauger and Stroll. If I just take a look at the race director, there you can see all the different strategies that unfolded. So at least Verstappen went soft mediums. And there you can see it was Sargent and de Vries both going on for 3 stops with soft mediums, and those were the 2 that really suffered. That was definitely at least 1 pit stop too many, if not 2. There you go for incidents. Track limits. That for me was, I think, at turn 7. It's the corner before the hairpin at the back end of the circuit, where you kind of straddle the curb. I kept running out slightly wide there, and it done me twice, so then I just eased off the throttle whenever I did it again in future. Stroll and Hauger with mechanical failures. Did anyone lose a front wing? No. My 4.6 second stop though, I had a stuck left front wheel. Get it right. So I lost a second or so there, but only a second or so. So what does that do to the standings? It gives you Sergio Perez leading the way from Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc third in the championship, ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Russell and Norris and Sainz all equal on points, so they're happy bunnies. With Alonso, Piastri, Ocon and Hulkenberg, your 11 scorers so far. Bottas, best of the non-scoring rest. Gasly would have been the biggest gainer there because obviously it was disqualification from round 1. Leapfrogs the 13th. Red Bull already ridiculously clear in the constructors. I don't see that really changing. Ahead of Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren in a comfortable 4th. Aston Martin in a odd 5th. Ahead of Alpine and Haas with 4 teams yet to score. And there we have it. Round 2 over. Thank you so much for watching. Again, let me know if this is a series that you definitely want to see me continue with and go on with. I think it was quite juicy. Personally, I was really impressed with my own drive. I thought I would bin it, and I didn't. So I'm just happy with myself, and I was competitive. So yay for me, it won't last.